First things first, alright, before I do this review, let me clarify one thing. In my previous video when I said I was done with Boruto, okay, basically what I'm saying is this, that it's no longer a passion of mine. I don't wake up early to actually review Boruto. I don't jump out of my bed with excitement. That's basically what I was saying, alright? I will still review the manga, and I'm basically done with the anime, unless they actually cover the manga content, which basically makes sense because I am covering the manga content. So if it appears in the anime, then I'll cover that too. If not, then I'm basically done with that, right? None of that filler shit that wastes my time. Anyway, today's chapter review, okay, is basically things you missed or things you didn't think about, something that must have, gone over your mind and all that. So that's exactly what I'm going to be talking about. So I'm going to be breaking everything down to the smallest detail, and I want to know what you guys think in the comments. It's most important to comment. All right, so let's start with the chapter review. So Ishiki is higher in terms of like order with Kaguya, right? He is of a higher place than Kaguya, and we did learn that the reason why they travel in pairs is because one person will get sacrificed to become, the tree, or at least they will be sacrificed to the tree in order for the tree to bloom. So the world trees, the god trees, are basically linked with your Suzuki's DNA, because if that wasn't the case, then you could literally feed anyone to it, unless the real reason why an Otsuki is needed for to feed the tree is because Otsukis have been gathering a lot of chakra, and it takes a lot of chakra to actually make these trees bloom. But I think somewhere in the data book, no, not in the data book, in the novels, it did say that Momoshiki created another tree which he was trying to plant on Earth. I believe that was the case, right? So then who did he sacrifice? And in fact, there's more about Momoshiki that I want to talk about based on the information that we got in this chapter, okay? So that's number one, alright? Ishiki is of a higher place than Kaguya, and Kaguya was the one who's supposed to be sacrificed. Now, the thing that doesn't make sense to me is this, alright? Out of the two, out of the pairs, one always has a rinnegan, and then the other probably has another dojutsu or something like that, right? Now, in the mural, right, it was depicted that Kaguya was the one with the rinnegan, and in the manga chapter, you can see that when they arrived on Earth, or at least the panel that we saw, Kaguya did not have a rinnegan, which actually matches with the data books, which says that Kaguya gained the rinnegan by eating the fruit, right? So now in the depictions, Kaguya does have a rinnegan, so that kind of doesn't make sense there. You know what I'm saying? Why does she, out of the two, have the rinnegan when she didn't have a rinnegan in the first place before she, came? Also, one thing I want you guys to realize is that the Kaguya that Naruto and Sasuke fought is actually stronger than when she arrived on Earth with Ishiki or Suzuki. I doubt that she would be able to take on Ishiki anyway, right? But she's slightly stronger. She will be able to put up a better fight than when she first arrived with Ishiki. And the other thing is, which is number 3, is that Kakuya's infinite Tsukiyomi might be able to take out Ishiki. The reason why is because obviously with the infinite Tsukiyomi, right, you need a rinnegan in order to counter it. Ishiki does not have a rinnegan, right? And based on the ocular abilities that we've seen him use, it doesn't seem like he knows how to use genjutsu, or they're capable of using genjutsu, right? It's more of a dimensional thing where he shrinks things and teleports things from a stored dimension to the present world or wherever it is. That's basically it. There's really nothing else to that. So if Kaguya was to literally cast the infinite Tsukiyomi, Ishiki would be fucked, and the only reason why he would survive this is if he actually teleports to another dimension to hide from that. And I think that's most likely what he did when Kaguya cast the infinite Tsukiyomi while he was still in Jigen's body, right? So that makes me wonder, okay, was Kara established a very long time ago, or was this a recent thing? Because think about it, Jigen has been alive for a very, very long time. So the other thing I want to talk about, I think this is number 4, number 5. Kaguya merged herself with the tree, right? And if I remember correctly, did they not say that the tree was only alive because it gained consciousness through Kaguya, because Kaguya had consciousness and merged with the tree? If that's the case, then that's kind of kind of retcon there, because these trees are already alive and they already seem to have rinne gun, so that makes no sense right there. Maybe after it blooms and you eat the fruit, then you gain the rinne gun, right? Maybe that's what the tree grants or something like that. I don't know, but these trees already seem to be alive and you just need to give them an Otsutsuki in order for them to kind of bloom. And it makes sense why Ishiki in Jigen's body basically said, nah, now's not the time for me to feed myself to you yet. And it's actually quite handy because we learn that they have the karma seal, which is not for, you know, a contingency plan in case they get killed by someone. It's more of a, you know, a process of them basically getting these trees to bloom. That's basically what the karma seal is. That's actually quite interesting. And let's go on to number 5. Think about this, okay? When Kaguya Otsutsuki was revived, guess who turned up? Hagoromo Otsutsuki. The reason why he turned up is because Kaguya was that big of a threat, right? That's a different scale of threat that we're dealing with when we compare Madara to Kaguya. Even though Madara is, you know, strategically smarter and knows how to use his powers better, Kaguya has more power, okay? So Hagoromo popped up in order to help Naruto and Sasuke kind of get rid of her. The thing is, Ishiki Otsutsuki, right, is more powerful than Kaguya, so should it not fit for Hagoromo to actually turn up and, you know, try and help Naruto and Sasuke out one more time? You know, I mean, look at the situation that they're in. It would actually be good and helpful if he gave them that little Jesus seal that he had in his palms, that he gave to them, the sun and the moon, so they can actually help themselves recover, you know, carry out all these amazing feats that they could before. But I don't think that's going to be the case. And to be honest with you, it would make absolutely no sense if Hagoromo doesn't pop up, because this threat is different than, you know, Kaguya. This is bigger, this is, you know, badder, so he should pop up. That is the only way Naruto and Sasuke, I think, are going to survive this. All right, so the next one, which is number 6, is since Kaguya Otsutsuki made sure that the tree on earth bloomed, right, and was able to actually get a fruit, the question is, if he got rid of Ishiki Otsutsuki, right, who did she feed to the tree in order for it to bloom so she can eat the fruit? That makes absolutely no sense. I think in the legends it said that the tree just randomly just appeared, right? So if it did, then that's probably after Kaguya betrayed Ishiki and then caught another Otsutsuki and then fed them to it, or so on and so forth. It's one of those two. But the question is, who did she actually feed in order to have the tree grow? Because they're supposed to travel in pairs and you're supposed to feed one of the two to the tree, right? So there was no Otsutsuki in order for Kaguya to feed the tree, so that might be another retcon right there. Let me know what you think in the comments. You wanna know what else is madness? Alright, think about this, okay? If the Otsutsuki feed themselves to god trees, guess what? That means that in this panel right here, right, all these god trees are literally Otsutsukis who have been killed. Okay, so Momoshiki must have fed a lot of low life Otsutsukis to these trees in order to plant all of them in order for him to get his harvest. And remember, in the novels, right, it said that this was an adequate harvest, as in, like, it wasn't good enough, so a lot of all these Otsutsuki basically died for no fucking reason whatsoever. And the other thing that is madness is this, okay? Kinshiki, right, because Otsutsuki's travel in pairs and one of them always has to die whenever they go on a planet in order to get all the chakra, that basically means, right, that Kinshiki has died a multitude of times. And it's either Momoshiki has fed 1,000 Otsutsukis to these trees, or Kinshiki has basically reincarnated himself and died a multitude of times in order to plant these trees, bro. That's fucking mad, okay? Also, if you look at it from Kaguya and Ishiki's standpoint, because Kaguya is the lesser person and they've been alive for thousands of years doing this journey to other planets for a lot of time, that basically means that Kaguya Otsutsuki has died a multitude of times and reincarnated herself with, you know, other living beings. Okay, so Kaguya has died a multitude of times, so people saying that she is immortal, right? After I said that she is not immortal and that she can actually die, even though the novels proved and said that she can die, here is more proof for you again, right? So finally you niggas can stop bashing me for telling you the truth, alright? I'm just the guy who delivers the messages. I'm not the one who writes them. Okay, Kakuya Tsuki can die, and she is fully capable of using the karma seal herself. Now, why she chose not to use it makes absolutely no sense, but the only logical reason we could come up with is that it wasn't invented at the time. The karma seal was never invented at the time, right? So yeah, Kaguya can die. She has died a multitude of times, and she probably just got tired of it and didn't want to do it anymore. So she basically betrayed Ishiki. And finally, the thing is, they reincarnate themselves using the karma seal by branding other living things. This is more evidence that aliens actually exist within the world of Naruto, right? And not just any ones. These are actual sentient beings, humanoid beings, because Otsutsuki do need to find a match in order for this to happen. So clearly there are other aliens out there. This is more proof, and a lot of them are humanoid like the Otsutsukis, as well as good matches for body in order for these people to reincarnate. So the fact that they can inhabit a planet and basically raid it is proof that life existed on that planet, and that they basically exploited it, like Momoshiki must have done, with probably Kinshiki reincarnating himself with other life forms in order to get the fruit. So yeah, that's a bit of madness right there. Now the next point is the aliens, right? So if you look at all the Otsukis, right, the only thing that they are all born with is the Byakugan, and then obviously they can unlock the Rinnegan. Right now, it has been said that they do take the contents from a planet that they raid to evolve themselves, right? So if that is the case, then that would kind of explain the abilities that they kind of have on the side. Like if you look at Kakuya, right, she has the bone techniques and all these other things. Okay, now that's an evolutionary thing that she probably has. Now what I think is this: I think that these techniques never really belonged to her, that she actually gained them by using the karma seal on one of the aliens that she probably reincarnated herself into. And because the aliens had that ability and she took control of that body, she gained those abilities. Same way that Momoshiki is using the Rasengan, right? It's not because he actually learned to use the Rasengan. He just absorbed the Rasengan with his Rinnegan, and then he reproduced what he absorbed, right? So that's not him actually learning to create a Rasengan. He just reproduced what he absorbed. He just doubled the power and re-released what he absorbed. Taking someone's technique and using it against them is not the same thing as learning it. So the fact that he can use a Rasengan means that after he fully reincarnates, he should be able to use a Rasengan, right? He inherits Boruto's abilities and most likely genetic information, and maybe that is what Amado means when he says that they evolve. So yeah, that's a little bit tidbit there for you to think about, right? Now let's get on to the next point. The next point is Urashiki. Based on what we've learned, alright, it makes absolutely zero sense that Urashiki didn't use the karma seal. It makes absolutely no sense at all, because this is a thing that they do. Secondly, the thing that doesn't make sense at all, right, is this. Okay, they travel in pairs, so where is Urashiki's partner? Where is this person? Maybe that is who Kaguya sacrificed in order to grow the tree. We never know. All we know is that Urashiki is the one in the pair that had the Rinnegan. The other one probably had a different ability, or just had a Byakugan, just like Kinshiki. Kinshiki didn't really have different abilities except from that tool creation technique that he had. But like I said, that could probably be like a technique that he inherited from whoever's body that he took control of. But anyway, Urashiki should have branded Naruto with the karma. Like that would literally change the entire timeline, but they decided not to do that. And that's one of the reasons why I don't really fuck with the anime like that, because they make decisions like this which should have a huge impact on the outcome of things, and at the end of the day it really doesn't. So basically they're writing empty stories which have no impact on what's happening in the manga, right? So yeah, that's a tidbit for you right there. The next one is, why is Ishiki looking to feed Boruto to the Jubi when Toneri is out there, bro? This guy's blind, he can't fight, right? Even though Boruto is a better victim because he's weaker than Toneri, it still doesn't make sense. Toneri is blind, he can't see anything. He's probably frozen in time or wherever it is in his head in a genjutsu by Urashiki, and he is Otsutsuki, right? So what could happen is that he can actually go to the moon, grab Toneri and feed Toneri instead. So the whole point of Kara's plans being centered around kawaki and Ishiki feeding himself to the jubi would all just be shortened if they just got Toneri and fed him instead to the jubi. But who knows, Toneri is only half Otsuki, or at least he's partial Otsuki, so maybe that wouldn't suffice. Maybe they need to feed a full-blooded one, and the only way to do that is for a person with the karma to fully obviously get their genetic DNA altered in order to become a full-fledged Otsutsuki. Maybe that is the case. The next point is about Kaguya Otsutsuki. Okay, so Kaguya Otsutsuki had 2 children that we know of. First of all, that whole story with Tenji, that never fucking happened in the first place. Okay, Kaguya just needed to have children, and she just used some random guy's dick in order to do it. Okay, so now apparently she had twins. We don't know whether she had a 3rd child or not, but obviously if she can have children, then most likely she would have probably done that, because at the end of the day, right, there were no Otsuzukis around. Okay, and she needed someone to feed to the tree in order for it to bloom. So she probably had a 3rd child, right, or a child before having twins, and she fed that child to the tree and then decided to have twins, which is Hagoromo and Hamura. Remember, Hagoromo and Hamura are not that knowledgeable. They don't know anything past the time that they were born. Okay, anything before that they have no idea about. They had no idea about Ishiki. Okay, they had no idea about Ishiki hiding in Jigen. They had no idea about a lot of things, that like the Otsutsuki, the original Otsutsukis and the hierarchy. They knew nothing about that. All they knew is that mom is Otsutsuki, she comes from somewhere, probably with a lot of Otsutsuki people, and that's basically it. That's literally all they knew. Okay, and they decided to stand guard until they died, and then they passed on the role forward, right? So that's basically it. That's all they know. So most likely Kaguya did have other children. And also, if you really think about it, okay, now her Rinnegan, which was passed down to Hagoromo, and then the Byakugan was passed down to Hamura, kind of thing. So it's like, if you look at her her ability, her bone ability, that was passed down to the Kaguya clan, right? That ability was not passed down to Hagoromo or Hamura. So then who actually inherited that ability? It's either maybe somewhere down the line the DNA kind of altered with Hagoromo's bloodline, and someone unlocked that ability and that became the Kaguya clan, or Kaguya just fucked around and had lots of kids around the world, and basically that's developed the Kaguya bloodline, right? That's the only explanation that you can give. And maybe one of those people is who she fed to the tree. It's just me coming up with things, but that's entirely possible. The next point to make is, how did Ishiki Otsuki conceal his identity or where he was? Because he has a lot of chakra. It's near impossible to not detect this guy, right? So it makes sense now based on what we've seen. So in this chapter, we learn that the cubes that he creates actually distort you from sensing anything around it, and we know that he has this little cube dimension where he goes, right, where all the Kara members go in order to communicate with each other. Whether it's genjutsu or not, it's most likely linked with how he's able to conceal his identity on the planet without being detected by Hagoromo, without being detected by Naruto and Sasuke, without being detected by all the sensory types on the planet. Because if your chakra is vast, right, Suzuki's chakra might be bigger than a Jubi, because remember, they've been collecting chakra for eons or whatever it is. So the fact that sensory types could sense the Jubi from the other side of the planet, you should be able to sense Ishiki or Suzuki's chakra like that. So the fact that he has these cubes and they actually kind of explain a way to conceal your chakra, to conceal your identity, and to conceal your existence, kind of explains where he has been, right? So that is that tidbit right there. That could also explain why Kaguya Otsutsuki could not find him. Right now, let's talk about the last pieces of information here. So Naruto is basically accomplished in his life. Okay, now people might be sad that this is basically it for him, because Kurama said you're in a situation where you're gonna die anyway, right? And if you're gonna die anyway, you might as well just use this technique that I've always been storing. So that kind of explains, it does a good job of explaining why Kurama's never really suggested that technique, because Naruto never really wanted to die in order to achieve his goals. But in terms of being a Kage, he is. So I don't really feel sad if he actually dies, right? But at the end of the day, he kind of has accomplished everything he really wanted to do, right? He wanted to become Hokage and be recognized, right? He's done that. He wanted to protect the village. He's done that several occasions. He has a family, which he always wanted because he's always been alone. He's already done that, right? He's already done everything he wanted to do. He's accomplished everything. And I guess the saddest thing about that is that his, prophecy ends here, kind of thing. So after using this technique, he's going to guarantee die, right? Because that's the reason why Kurama always concealed this technique. He's going to guarantee die, and this is the end for him. He's already accomplished everything, and that's basically it. Now, there's only one little piece of information which suggests that he might not actually die, alright? And that is Kawaki still having the karma and said, I will send you where I sent the 7th. Okay, so we don't know whether it is Ishiki who has branded Kawaki again, or whether Kawaki actually has a new karma seal from another Otsuki, right? We don't know if Naruto is going to be able to kill Ishiki with his new form. Probably just hold him back until he dies, right? But if he dies there, that means that Kawaki is not branded by Ishiki and is branded by somebody else, okay? So yeah, it's actually something for you to think about. Maybe Naruto really does die here, or something gets done to him. He gets sent to somewhere else, and that's why Ishiki, who most likely is controlling Kaki's body, basically says, "I will send you where I sent him." Maybe he's talking about death or the pure world, the pure land, the afterlife, which is basically where Hagoromo's soul is basically traveling around in time in order to intervene when things happen. So he should pop up, right? Hopefully Hagoromo actually pops up, because like I said, the threat is higher than Kaguya Tsutsuki, and so he needs to appear. And then he gives Naruto and Sasuke the sun and the moon seal again, which will allow them to actually recover themselves from grave injuries, right? Maybe Naruto can revive himself like the way he stopped the death of my guy, okay, from the 8 gates. So his new transformation is kind of like the 8 gates. Once he uses it, he's done, he's finished. So it would be good for Hagoromo to pop up, and either that happens or Sasuke uses Rinne Rebirth. And I talked to Barabi about this on Twitter, and he was saying that, is it possible for a person to survive the Rinne, tensei after they use it? And the data books basically say no. And to be honest with you, no one has really survived it, right? So yeah, Sasuke could possibly use that to revive Naruto, but that means he dies. And if he dies, someone else can inherit his eyes, which is most likely Sarada, because she's the only Uchiha left, or the only person who could possibly handle the eyes. And if that happens, then that would kind of explain why Boruto is wearing Sasuke's stuff. It's because he sacrificed himself in order to keep Naruto alive. And yeah, Boruto just took his gear. And finally, right, which is the last tidbit, okay, if you watched one of my reviews, I revealed Amado's mastermind plan, and I told you guys that he was behind every single thing, okay? And in this chapter, it is revealed that it is exactly as I said, bruh. From when the balloon, was taken down for Konoha to actually get Kawaki, bring him in, Hokage will take care of him, kind of thing, right? And then lure Ishiki to Konoha in order for Naruto and Sasuke to fight him. All these things, right? You can go back and watch that video, which goes into more depth about what Amado's plan is, but every single thing has been confirmed. Amado basically said that he is just using them in order to fulfill his plan to get rid of Ishiki, in the same way he has been manipulating Kashin Kuji, right? So I was right by 100%. Go back and watch that video because it covers everything in detailed steps. But with that being said, right, that's basically it. I want to know your thoughts in the comment section down below. I will make a comments video reading your comments, so make sure you leave them in the comments, and also drop a like if you want my channel to keep going. And with that being said, those are all the things that you missed or kind of didn't think about when you were reading the chapter. So the next chapter, we will see what actually happens. And yeah, I've got nothing more to say. Bye.